The year is 2025. For most folks, it's just another step into the future, another calendar flipped, and another page of history waiting to be written. But for those who dig a little deeper, 2025 is way more than that. It's the year of the Black Warning. This isn't some government whisper or a sign in the sky. It's a chilling prediction made decades ago by Baba Vanga, a blind mystic from Bulgaria. She had a vision that a month in 2025 would turn black, not because of an eclipse or nightfall, but because humanity would be engulfed in a shadow like we've never seen before. And now as the clock ticks, that shadow is creeping closer. Are you ready for what's coming? When Baba Vanga spoke of the Black Month, many dismissed her words as cryptic superstition. After all, how could 1 month, one brief stretch of days, alter the course of humanity? But if we pause, if we reflect on how fragile this world has already become, the meaning becomes terrifyingly clear. In today's world, a single month can collapse economies, topple governments, and reshape generations. Think back just a few years. A single month of a pandemic was enough to halt planes, lock billions in their homes, silence cities, and suffocate the entire globe. A single month of war in one corner of the world can ripple into oil prices, food shortages, and mass migrations. Baba Vanga's prophecy was not exaggeration. It was a warning that the interconnected web of humanity could be shattered in just 30 days. And as we edge closer to 2025, the tremors are already here. The Black Warning is not a single event, not a meteor crashing from the heavens or a volcano swallowing the land. No, what she foresaw was more sinister, a convergence, a chain reaction of crises feeding into one another until escape becomes impossible. Imagine fire feeding smoke, smoke feeding panic, panic fueling collapse. A chain so tightly linked that the breaking of one link drags the rest into ruin. She described it as a blackening of time, a moment when light itself feels suffocated, not because the sun will vanish, but because hope itself will dim. And as we analyze her cryptic words, we begin to see that this Black Month may not be waiting for us in the future. It may already be knocking at the door. Look around. The climate is no longer a slow-moving problem for the next generation. It is here. Floods swallowing entire towns, wildfires burning forests into ashes, heat waves that make entire regions unlivable. Economies that once stood tall are wobbling, currencies fluctuating like fragile leaves in a storm. Wars that were supposed to be local now draw in superpowers, creating fault lines that threaten to split the globe in half. Each of these events on their own is frightening, but together they are the makings of Baba Vanga's Black Month. A month where the crises will no longer wait in line, but strike simultaneously, each blow feeding the next, leaving humanity stunned and unprepared. And this is where the mystery deepens. Baba Vanga did not just speak of destruction, she spoke of inevitability. She said the Black Month would not be stoppable, not reversible, not something humanity could vote away or negotiate away. This is perhaps the most chilling aspect of her prophecy. Because unlike wars we can negotiate, unlike disasters we can prepare for, this Black Month carries with it a sense of inescapability. It is not a question of if, it is a question of when. She used the word black not just as a description, but as a symbol. Black for mourning, black for endings, black for the kind of silence that follows when something breaks forever. And in 2025, that silence may cover us all. Skeptics have always asked, how can a blind woman from a rural village predict the fate of nations, of economies, of civilizations? But the record is undeniable. Baba Vanga foresaw events that history later confirmed. The rise of global leaders, the fall of towers, the birth of tragedies no one saw coming. When she spoke of the tsunami that struck in 2004, her words were vague but haunting. A huge wave will cover people and towns, and everything will disappear beneath it. Years later, the world watched as her vision became reality. When she spoke of the tragedy of 9/11, she described steel birds striking twin brothers, and the world watched as those towers crumbled into ash. Each time her words were doubted, they returned sharper, heavier, undeniable. So when she says that 2025 carries a black warning, are we really ready to shrug it off as nonsense? Or must we finally listen, even if what we hear terrifies us? There is something unnerving about the timing. The year 2025 has already been highlighted by scientists, economists, and political analysts, not mystics, for being a potential tipping point. Climate scientists warn of irreversible damage accelerating within this decade. Economists caution of looming collapses in debt and global trade. Political experts warn of rising tensions that may explode into conflicts the world cannot contain. Without ever hearing Baba Vanga's words, the world was already whispering that 2025 could be pivotal. Yet decades before, she had already placed her finger on this very year, calling it black. Coincidence or prophecy? But perhaps the most terrifying clue lies in the interconnectedness of today's world. In the past, crises were local. A war here, a famine there, a flood somewhere else. The world could absorb them, adapt, and move forward. But now the systems are so tightly woven that one disaster instantly echoes everywhere. A war in one region can raise the cost of bread in another. A virus in one country can lock down cities across oceans. A heat wave in one continent can ripple into global food prices. This is what Baba Vanga's prophecy seems to hint at. The Black Month will not be one nation's tragedy. It will be all of ours. And in that month, humanity will learn how fragile its so-called strength really is. Pause for a moment and imagine it. Imagine a single month where multiple systems collapse together. Banks struggling under economic strain. Superpowers pointing weapons at each other with trembling hands. Food shipments delayed. Water supplies dwindling. Forests burning. Diseases spreading. People locked inside not from one virus, but from multiple dangers converging at once. The headlines would not come one at a time. They would flood, each darker than the last, until screens, radios, and conversations were drenched in black. This is not the imagination of fear. It is the chilling echo of Baba Vanga's vision. And yet, her prophecy does not stand alone. Throughout history, other seers, prophets, and even religious texts have warned of periods of darkness, moments where humanity would be tested in fire and shadow. Nostradamus spoke of years when fire and plague would walk together. Ancient texts whispered of tribulations where man would be brought low not by one disaster, but by many. Baba Vanga's Black Month aligns with these warnings, not in detail, but in essence. The essence that humanity is approaching a point where its illusions of control will be stripped away, leaving it face to face with its own vulnerability. As 2025 draws closer, the early signs have already been written across our skies, our lands, our politics. Pandemics that were once dismissed as once in a century are now expected to return. Economies that once boasted strength are now barely standing under the weight of inflation and debt. Fires that were once seasonal are now year-round. Political tensions that once simmered are now boiling, threatening to spill over at any moment. Every headline reads like another piece of the prophecy assembling itself before our eyes. And still, humanity walks as if asleep, pretending tomorrow will be like yesterday. But Baba Vanga's voice, though long gone, whispers otherwise. Tomorrow will not be like yesterday. Tomorrow carries a shadow. What makes the prophecy even more haunting is her use of the word warning. She did not call it the Black Destruction or the Black Death. She called it a black warning. A warning implies something greater is yet to come. It suggests that even after this month, humanity will face choices, decisions that will either lead it towards survival or deeper into collapse. The Black Month may not be the end, but it may be the sign that the end is now within sight, a signal flare that says the countdown has begun. This interpretation is what chills many researchers and prophecy watchers the most, because if the Black Month is just the warning, then what follows could be far more devastating. Think of how humanity reacts to warnings. Some listen, some ignore, some deny. But a warning, if ignored, often leads to tragedy. Baba Vanga's Black Warning may be humanity's final chance to prepare, to wake up, to change course before the inevitable becomes the irreversible. Yet history has shown that humanity rarely listens until it is too late. We ignored the warnings of climate scientists, and now we scramble to fight wildfires and floods. We ignored the warnings of economists, and now we watch markets swing like pendulums of chaos. We ignored the warnings of peacekeepers, and now we see wars spilling across borders. Will we ignore Baba Vanga's black warning as well? That is the question that 2025 will answer. The truth is, prophecy is not about dates and numbers. It is about direction. Baba Vanga may not have meant one specific calendar month marked in red ink. The black month may be symbolic, a period of days when humanity feels the full weight of its interconnected crises. That month could be March. It could be September. It may even last longer than 30 days, stretching into a season of darkness. But the essence remains. It will feel like a blackened period where time itself becomes suffocating, where the light of normalcy disappears, where survival feels uncertain. And so, the shocking truth about Baba Vanga's black warning is this: it is not just a prediction, it is an unfolding reality. Step by step, crisis by crisis, the world is building the stage for her words to come alive. 2025 is not just another year, it is the year the cracks may finally shatter into chasms. It is the year humanity may finally understand that warnings are not to be mocked. It is the year we may all face the shadow together. The chilling thing about Baba Vanga's black warning is not simply its existence. It's the fact that every year since her passing, the world has moved closer to fulfilling it. Each decade, new shocks shake humanity, like preludes to a much darker symphony. And when we trace the path to 2025, we see that none of these were isolated. They were steps, rehearsals, tremors before the quake. The pandemic taught us how vulnerable we are to the invisible. Wars remind us how fragile peace has become. Climate disasters expose the limits of human control. All of these are warnings within the warning, echoes building towards something greater. But when the Black Month finally strikes, the scale will be unprecedented, because for the first time in modern history, every thread of humanity's fabric may tear at once. Imagine the economy. Global systems that once thrived on growth are already groaning under the weight of debt, inflation, and competition. A single collapse in one corner of the financial world could cascade through currencies, banks, and stock markets worldwide. Baba Vanga's prophecy did not specifically mention banks, but her words about an unavoidable chain reaction point eerily to the interconnected fragility of today's systems. Picture an ordinary family in Europe, Asia, or America suddenly finding their savings worth half of what they were. Panic spreads, fear grips the streets, and protests erupt. Now imagine this happening during the same month that crops fail from drought, that heat waves leave millions without water, and that political tensions flare into violence. That is the Black Month, when chaos refuses to take turns and instead strikes all at once. What terrifies many about Baba Vanga's prophecies is not their poetry, it's their brutal clarity. She did not dress her visions in symbolic riddles like Nostradamus. She often spoke plainly, in words that only seemed vague until events proved her right. Her prophecy for 2025 spoke of a black period, unavoidable and heavy, and though the details are debated, the weight of her words is undeniable. Black is not coincidence. O Baba Vanga, colors carried meaning. She often used black when describing grief, endings, or irreversible change. The very choice of that word suggests that this period will not be merely inconvenient. It will be devastating, marked by mourning, by silence, by a loss that leaves the world altered forever. And yet, as frightening as it is, we must not ignore the deeper meaning behind the black warning. Prophecies are not simply forecasts of doom, they are mirrors. They reveal what humanity is building with its own hands, showing us the destination of the road we are walking. If Baba Vanga foresaw a black month in 2025, it may not be because fate has already written it in stone, but because humanity, left unchecked, was always destined to arrive there. Consider this. We have been warned for decades about climate, about resource depletion, about reckless economics, about unchecked power struggles. Each ignored warning becomes a stepping stone toward disaster. Baba Vanga may have simply seen where the road ends if humanity does not turn. But here lies the paradox. She also said it would be unavoidable. And this is the detail that sparks the greatest fear. Because unavoidable does not leave space for turning back. It implies inevitability. It implies that even if the world were to wake up tomorrow and make the right choices, the shadow would still fall. This is why her prophecy strikes deeper than any other. Because it suggests humanity has already crossed the threshold, that the Black Month is not a possibility. It is a promise that cannot be undone. A promise that the unsettling part of prophecy is how often it seems to hide in plain sight. In the months leading to the pandemic, experts had warned of a coming virus, of weaknesses in global preparedness. Yet when it arrived, the world was shocked, unready, frozen. The same can be said now. Scientists warn of accelerating climate disasters, economists warn of instability, peace experts warn of conflict, and still governments argue, people look away, and life continues as if nothing looms ahead. When the Black Month comes, it will not arrive with trumpets or announcements. It will arrive silently, like a thief in the night. And only when the dominoes fall will the world realize the prophecy has been fulfilled. So what exactly might this month look like? Baba Vanga never gave dates or names, but her followers, her interpreters, and those who analyze world events today paint chilling possibilities. It may begin with an economic collapse, one so deep that it ripples through markets worldwide, sparking panic and riots. At the same time, weather extremes could cripple food production, leaving millions hungry. In that same span, political tensions could flare into direct military confrontation, perhaps even drawing nuclear threats into play. Meanwhile, disease, whether a new virus or a resurgence of old ones, could spread rapidly, overwhelming healthcare systems. None of these are fantasies. Each one has already been seen in smaller doses. The Black Month would be the fusion of them all, the overwhelming storm when warnings become reality. To some, this sounds like fear-mongering, but history itself testifies that even the strongest civilizations have collapsed in periods of rapid, overlapping crises. The Roman Empire did not fall from one battle. It fell because political instability, economic troubles, invasions, and cultural decline converged. Ancient kingdoms were not erased by single disasters, but by compounded blows that overwhelmed their defenses. Humanity today may boast of technology, of progress, of modern systems. But in truth, we are more fragile than those empires ever were, because our systems are no longer local, they are global. And when the global collapses, there is nowhere left to hide. Baba Vanga's Black Month prophecy can also be interpreted in a more symbolic light, a spiritual collapse. She often warned not only of physical disasters, but of moral and spiritual decay. A black period could mean not just suffering in the external world, but a time when humanity's values, ethics, and sense of unity are suffocated. Consider how divided the world already is, political lines sharper than ever, cultures clashing, trust eroding. Imagine a month where fear and selfishness replace compassion, where survival instincts destroy cooperation, where human beings turn on one another rather than stand together. This is also a blackening, a spiritual shadow that darkens the soul of humanity itself. And this interpretation is perhaps even more dangerous, because while natural disasters may pass, a spiritual collapse can leave scars that last generations. When trust is broken, when fear dominates, when division becomes the default, rebuilding becomes almost impossible. Baba Vanga may have seen not just natural or political crises, but the deeper collapse of humanity's unity. A moment when mankind finally realizes it is not one people, but many fractured groups, unable to stand together even in the face of shared disaster. That is the true danger of the Black Warning, that it reveals what humanity really is when stripped of illusion. As unsettling as this all sounds, one must ask, why did Baba Vanga frame it as a warning rather than a final prophecy? The answer may lie in the possibility of awakening. A warning, even if inevitable, carries with it a call to prepare, to brace, to survive. She may have seen that while the Black Month cannot be stopped, humanity can choose how it responds. Will it crumble entirely, or will it endure scarred but wiser? Prophecies often walk the thin line between destiny and choice. Perhaps the shadow is unavoidable, but what comes after may still be shaped by the decisions of those who live through it. When we look at how humanity responds to crisis, We see both the worst and the best of ourselves. In disasters, some exploit and destroy, but others rise with courage, compassion, and resilience. Baba Vanga's prophecy does not tell us what kind of people we will be in the Black Month. It only tells us that the test is coming. And this may be the most shocking truth of all. The prophecy is not about predicting disaster, but about preparing souls. It is about whether humanity has the strength to endure not just one crisis, but many at once, and whether in the darkness we can still choose light. So as 2025 approaches, the question is no longer will it happen, but what will we do when it does? Will leaders cling to power as systems fall? Will nations turn against one another when resources dry? Will people fight each other in the streets, or will they protect one another in the ruins? These are not hypothetical, they are choices humanity will face, and Baba Vanga's prophecy forces us to confront them now, before it is too late. The Black Warning may sound terrifying, but hidden within it is also opportunity. History shows us that humanity often awakens only in the face of crisis. The darkest moments are the ones that force us to change, to grow, to evolve. If the Black Month strikes in 2025, it may leave behind devastation, but it may also leave behind a chance for humanity to rethink its path, to rise from ashes into something stronger. This duality is the essence of prophecy. It frightens, but it also awakens. And perhaps that is why Baba Vanga's words still echo so powerfully decades after her passing. The final approach to Baba Vanga's Black Warning leads us to a chilling realization. Humanity is no longer standing at a crossroads. We are already on the chosen path, moving forward toward something inescapable. The shadow is not far away. It is nearly upon us now. When we study history, we see how civilizations ignored signs until collapse struck. The Mayans, the Romans, the Mesopotamians all left ruins that whisper the same lesson. Ignored warnings always transform into blackened periods of suffering. Baba Vanga's prophecy may be humanity's mirror, reflecting that timeless cycle once more. Many followers believe the Black Month points to August, the time when summer flames intensify, droughts worsen and tempers ignite. Others suggest March, a transitional month of endings and beginnings. But perhaps the truth is that the exact date matters less than the inevitability itself. The mystery surrounding Baba Vanga's visions lies in her simplicity. She did not decorate her words with riddles. She spoke directly, yet decades later, their meaning still strikes deeper than scholars can explain. That is why her Black Warning carries such weight. It was meant to be unmistakably alarming. Humanity has a habit of asking when while ignoring why. The Black Month prophecy is not a countdown, but a revelation of cause and effect. We have poisoned oceans, ignited wars, and burned forests. The warning reveals not fate, but consequence, an unavoidable harvest of what humanity has sown. Consider the present condition of global trust. Nations accuse, leaders manipulate, citizens doubt. Institutions once viewed as pillars now crumble beneath corruption and division. This erosion of faith may become the greatest darkness of all, for without trust, even survival feels like a lonely, endless abyss. In her lifetime, Baba Vanga was approached by scientists and statesmen seeking answers. She often replied with calm finality, saying, "I only tell what I see." That simplicity is haunting. She claimed no control, no agenda, only visions. And if she truly saw 2025 as black, disbelief offers no refuge. The Black Month can also be seen through a spiritual lens. Many mystics describe humanity entering a cycle of purification, darkness before renewal. If this is so, then Baba Vanga's warning may be less about destruction, more about cleansing, where pain prepares humanity for transformation. But cleansing comes at a cost. It strips away illusions, dismantles comforts, and forces humanity to confront truths long ignored. The Black Month, then, may not only reveal collapsing systems, it may expose the fragility of our own souls, demanding that we either awaken or fall deeper into shadow. This is where the prophecy gains its sharpest edge. Because the Black Month is not just a moment, it is a choice disguised as inevitability. Humanity may not escape the pain, but how we emerge depends on whether we confront our failings or repeat them until collapse becomes final. Prophecies throughout history often carried dual meanings. To one ear, they sounded like doom. To another, they were guidance. Baba Vanga's black warning may stand as both, the forecast of disaster and the key to survival. Which one it becomes depends on how humanity listens. Imagine the psychological toll of this Black Month. Media headlines filled with despair, streets echoing with protests, markets empty, homes uncertain. In such times, despair spreads faster than any disease. But equally powerful is courage. Acts of solidarity that shine like stars in overwhelming night. This duality is what prophecy challenges us to see. Shadows will fall, yes, pain will spread, yes, but even within a blackened month, light can exist. The question is whether humanity chooses to kindle it, or whether it lets the darkness consume everything without resistance. In many traditions, great darkness is always followed by renewal. Winter before spring, night before dawn, death before rebirth. Baba Vanga's Black Month may be terrifying, but within it lies the seed of change. Humanity must decide whether that seed grows or whether it withers in ash. Some have argued that Baba Vanga's warning may not be purely earthly. Could the black symbolize a cosmic event, a solar disruption, a celestial occurrence, or something unseen by science? Prophecy often carries layers, and in 2025, we may discover shadows both human and universal. Regardless of the interpretation, the essence remains. 2025 will not be ordinary. It is a year carved into destiny's stone, a year that may break illusions humanity has clung to for centuries. The black warning stands as an alarm clock for a sleeping civilization. When civilizations collapse, survivors rarely realize they lived through history until afterward. The same may happen with this prophecy. People may only recognize the Black Month once it has passed, leaving scars and silence behind, leaving them whispering, "We should have listened earlier." The greatest tragedy would not be the disasters themselves, but the blindness of humanity to its own role. We have been given signs, data, and prophecies alike, yet denial remains stronger than preparation. And when denial meets inevitability, the result is devastation multiplied. And yet there remains a fragile hope. Baba Vanga spoke often of humanity's resilience, even amidst her darker predictions. She believed in cycles, in renewal. The Black Month may mark humanity's lowest point, but perhaps it will also become the fire that forges unity, compassion, and transformation. What does this mean for us now standing on the threshold of 2025? It means the time of ignoring is over. It means that while we cannot escape the shadow, we can prepare for it, mentally, spiritually, and practically. The Black Month is a warning, not just doom. Preparation does not mean hoarding wealth or hiding from truth. It means cultivating resilience, rebuilding trust, strengthening communities, and remembering that survival is not only about individuals, but about collective strength. Because in the Black Month, no one will stand alone, whether in despair or in hope. This is the essence of Baba Vanga's legacy. She was not simply a woman of predictions, she was a voice that told humanity to pay attention. Her black warning for 2025 is not meant to paralyze us with fear, but to jolt us awake before time runs out. And so as the year approaches, we are left with a final truth. The Black Month cannot be stopped, but it can be survived. It cannot be erased, but it can be endured. What it leaves behind, ruin or rebirth, will be humanity's decision, not prophecy's decree. When the shadow finally falls, the world will remember her words. Some will tremble, some will despair, but some will rise. And in their rising, in their refusal to let darkness swallow everything, humanity may find the very strength that Baba Vanga believed still exists. The shocking truth of Baba Vanga's 2025 Black Warning is not that the shadow is coming. It is that we are the ones who built it. But it is also that we are the ones who can decide what comes after. Darkness is inevitable. Renewal is optional. So as the clock ticks, let us not waste the warning. Let us face the Black Month with eyes open, hearts steady, and souls prepared. Because the prophecy is not the end of humanity. It is the test of it, and the test is nearly here.